Hey guys, I'm Justin with Legato Financial Group. Our firm is passionate about helping educate consumers, which is why we're powering the Gaining Interest podcast. The podcast of quick conversations with industry experts on topics that you want to know about, from sports to dining to healthcare and automotive, and really everything in between. It's hosted by one of the greatest local personalities that I've met, that's John Ramsey.
I'll tell you why I love this podcast, because it's all about community. We used to call it water cooler talk, and that no longer exists. But if it's interesting to you, it's interesting to us. We encourage you to tell your friends. As Justin mentioned, we're going to talk about everything under the sun. We will be gaining interest, and we appreciate you watching. Valhalla Golf Course has been voted one of the top 100 greatest golf courses in America by Golf Digest, no less, and they've done that for over 30 years. With me now is Keith Reese, who is the general manager of Valhalla Golf Course. Okay, I think probably one of the first places we should start, Keith, is the name Valhalla. So for those who aren't aware, what exactly does Valhalla mean, and how did the name come to be the official title?
Okay, Valhalla is actually, it's for lack of a better term, the Norse heaven. When Viking warriors are killed in battle, they go to Valhalla, they feast, and that's kind of their reward for being valiant warriors. But how it came about is probably one of the most interesting stories ever. The Gam family, Dwight and Walt, Gordy, and Phil, his three sons, when they were looking at building the golf course, they knew Jack Nicklaus wanted to be their guy. And so they were visiting some of his golf courses that he had built. And a guy named Hall Thompson owned Shoal Creek down in Birmingham, Alabama. And so they were going to go visit Shoal Creek. And they got down to Birmingham, and Hall Thompson had sent his driver to pick him up and take him out to the course. And the driver said, "Well, I hear you all are building a golf course." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I've got the perfect name for you, Valhalla." So they said, "Oh, okay." And they said they didn't think much about it until it became time to name the golf course. And there was no internet at that time, so they said they had to send one of the boys to the library, and they thought they had one that knew where it was. So he went to the library and looked up Valhalla, figured out it was the Norse heaven, and said, "Oh, that's pretty cool. Maybe that's what we do for the name." So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Did they ever give that gentleman credit? They ever talk to him and say, "Hey, thank you"?
I don't know. I don't know.
What a great
He deserves
story.
a lot of it, though.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
I think, Keith, you were built for this job, and proof's in the pudding. Tell us a little bit about your story and where you're from, because I think that points to, hey, this guy was meant to be a general manager of a major golf course.
Well, I'm from Augusta, Georgia. So
There it is.
That's I grew up about 3 blocks from the front gate of the Augusta National. So whenever everyone in Augusta, your life kind of revolves around that tournament that week, and golf in general kind of gets in your blood. So so that was my introduction to it anyway. I didn't really think of golf much as a career until I got into college, and I was a baseball player and figured out that batting .260 probably wasn't going to do much for me. So, but I always played golf and I loved it. So we kind of fell into it a little bit with the Golf Digest instruction schools, and spent some time with them traveling around, and then was fortunate enough to wind up as an assistant golf professional at Valhalla in 1989. Yeah.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And that hand-eye coordination from baseball, it pays off,
It helps.
doesn't it?
It does. It helps. Yeah, for sure. It does. Yeah.
Keith, you've hosted a lot of big events. Thank you for coming in here. This is kind of a crunch time for you, isn't it?
Absolutely. Honored to be here with you, John. So thanks for having us. Yes, it is. It's getting crunch time. We're inside of, 90 days, I guess, now?
Goodness. So here it comes. But for you now, it's not old hat. I can't say that, because you got PGA Championships. You've done a couple of those. You've done senior championships as well, Ryder Cup. So the prestige has always been there, but you never get accustomed to this kind of pressure, do you?
No, you don't really. And every event's a little bit different. Ryder Cup is certainly different than a PGA Championship, but even this PGA Championship is very different from the one that we hosted in 2014, just from the sheer size of the build out, the infrastructure that the PGA of America brings in for the hospitality, and just to have that fan experience. They're all a little different, so you learn something each time.
Valhalla Golf Course, it's one of those, when I see on TV, it makes me proud to be from Kentucky, because you see the limestone, you see the rolling creeks, you see all the beauty that is Kentucky, even the fencing that looks like horse farms. It's all purposeful, isn't it?
Very much so. And our new ownership group, I couldn't be happier with the direction of the club, with with these guys for sure. And that's the vision. You know, when Dwight, he actually used to ride quarter horses out there before he came up with the idea of the golf course. So this new ownership group, we've really tried to accentuate that so that when someone pulls in the gate, they know they're going to have a great experience and they know they're in Kentucky.
Yeah. Dwight Gam, if you're not familiar, Dwight Gam is the gentleman who really had this vision of Valhalla and made his dream come true. I think that was about in 81. Jack Nicklaus comes in 83. You open in 86. Is that about right, timeline?
That's pretty close. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So for you, I'm curious, your background, this isn't your average everyday public golf course. No offense to any of them. We have some beautiful ones. But this is one of the most beautiful golf courses in the country. So tell me a little bit about your background. Obviously, you're very accomplished as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it is a wonderful place. I've been in the golf business nearly 40 years, and 33 of those at Valhalla Golf Club. So what a nice home it's been for me, and it is a very special place, and it is different. You know, from our team's perspective, when someone comes to visit, they've got an expectation in their mind of what this should be, and a lot of times it's what they've seen on TV. So for us to really try to create those championship types of feel and just an experience where it's warm and friendly, that you know, there's camaraderie, there's a love of golf, because we're golf only, no pool and no tennis. That's our main focus. So there's some pressure to get that done, but I feel like our team really does a nice job.
Boy, you've got to love your job. Okay, so let's go back a little bit to the early 80s when Jack Nicklaus comes to town. From what I understand, he took a look at that piece of property and he says, this has everything I need. It has the water, it has the green and the terrain, and it has everything you want in a fine golf course. So it was already there. With that being said, there's a lot of things that separate Valhalla that do make it uniquely Kentucky. Talk a little bit, I touched upon the limestone and all that, but it's almost a certain feel. I watch that and I go, that looks like home to me, right?
Yeah, very much so. And we're even trying to create that a little bit more. One of the things that's very unique about Valhalla is we have two distinct different nines. We've got our front nine that moves through the floodplain with Floyd's Fork, got tall grass and mounding. Then you move to the back nine, a little more traditional, a lot of elevation change, tree-lined fairways. So it's a very unique property in that perspective, and it's so big. We actually own just shy of 500 acres that the Game family was keen enough to be able to purchase all of that as it became available. And the golf course takes up about 250 of it. So
wow,
you know, it's a great buffer that we have as well. It's very, very unique.
You're somewhat of a historian as well, because you've been the general manager for over 30 years. What'd you say, 33 years? Is that right?
General manager for 11 years. I was the head golf professional for a while, okay. Assistant golf professional in the beginning. So,
well, you've got a unique skill set, though, so you can do it all. You can play. You know how to care for a world-class golf course. Yeah. So a little bit on the history, I'm curious. First PGA Championship, 96.
Yeah.
Okay, how has it changed? Obviously, golf is like any business. Everything evolves. But golf certainly evolves as far as requirements, a different look. How has the golf course changed from 96 to where it is today?
Yeah, it does. I mean, in golf courses in general, all golf courses tend to evolve and change over time. Valhalla, if we use that as an example, the routing and the design of the golf course hasn't changed a whole lot because Mr. Game, who we mentioned earlier, when he built the golf course, he wanted to attract a major championship. And kind of as the story goes, is he told that to Jack, and Jack said, well, Dwight, you sure you want a golf course that's, you know, that big? It's going to be tough. But he did a great job of designing a golf course that not only is going to challenge the best players in the world, but our members can play every day. So we haven't really made a ton of changes. We've softened the greens, which taken some of the slope out of them. We did that in 2007, just with the new requirements for green speeds. Nicklaus once said, you know, when he designed the golf course, the greens for a major championship weren't near as fast as they are today. So we softened the greens a bit, but the biggest change we've made is we've added length. The golf course is almost 600 yards longer than it was when Nicklaus built it. Yeah.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the only criticism was that it was a little bit short, right? And now that's not the case.
That's not the case now. It's going to be 7,600 yards and a par 71, so it'll be a good test.
Keith, I think you know this. Jack Nicklaus is known for certain signature, his signature that he puts on all of his golf courses that he designs. Tell me a little bit about what separates Valhalla from a typical Jack Nicklaus course.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with just the open space and the buffers around. A lot of courses when Nicklaus was really building a lot of them in the late 80s through the 90s were housing developments. So that's very unique about Valhalla is that we don't have homes around the golf course. There are a few that you can see, and with this ownership group, that was something that's very important for them. So even today, everyone kind of sees the value of having that buffer. So when you're at Valhalla, a lot of members say, this is my happy place. I come out here, there's no homes. It's so tranquil. You've got deer running around. It's pretty amazing from that aspect. And I think that's one of the things that makes it very unique.
You mentioned the ownership, local ownership, guys who really care and understand the fact that they have a gem in Valhalla. With that being said, whenever you host a PGA Championship or a Senior Championship or Ryder Cup, I would think there are thresholds, requirements. The PGA comes in. How involved are they, and what are maybe some of the requirements, if you would, Keith?
One of the biggest requirements for a major championship these days is space. For this will be the largest build out for a PGA Championship ever. It's very near what Ryder Cup was in 2008. We'll have nearly 700,000 square feet of temporary flooring will be installed, 150 tent structures. So really just having that space is invaluable for the PGA and really for any major. So that's a big part of it, but you have to have a good golf course. You've got to have a team in place that knows how to prime that golf course and get ready for the best players in the world. And then you've got to have a community that supports it. And what better support has Louisville given these championships? I mean, every time we host one, it sets a record. So,
yeah, Keith, I have to ask you because I'm going to go back to the basics, an average Joe like myself. So Gaining Interest, our podcast, brought to you by Legato Financial Group, powered by Legato Financial Group, thank you very much, is about anything interesting. And there's a certain, high level of interest about golf, a passion for golf. If you meet a golfer, it's something they want to talk about, they want to play, they want to watch. Help me understand, and don't get me wrong, I share some of it, but it's so extreme. There's not many sports, I think, that attract that kind of affinity and passion. What is it about golf? You know the game probably better than anyone in town. So what is it about golf that makes people so avid about it?
I think you're right on point there. It's an interesting sport. You either love it or you hate it. I think what most people fall in love with is the challenge. I mean, there's so many things that have to happen in a golf swing for that millisecond when the ball hits the club face to make it go straight. So it's a very difficult game, and people either embrace that or they say, I'm done with it, I'm never doing that again. But you fall in love with it because you can't conquer it. And the way golf is set up, we've got a handicap system. So, if you're a 10 handicap and I'm a scratch golfer, we can still have a match and we can play and we can compete kind of on the same level. So that's unique about it as well. I think that really presents it in a way and you can play it for so long. You can play it from the time you're 10 until you're 80. So
regardless
really
of level,
neat.
everyone can play.
Exactly.
And compete.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see the allure of that. Okay, let's talk about people who play it exceptionally well. And you've seen those, whether it be a PGA Championship, the senior game is great, the Ryder Cup, you're seeing players from all over the world. Tell me a little bit about maybe some of your favorite players, maybe some of your favorite memories, Keith.
These players today too, they're athletes, no question about it. When you see these players in person, I mean, these guys, they're it. They are
pieces of steel.
They are truly they're athletes. But at the same time, they have such a knack for the feel and of the game, because golf does require a lot of feel. It's a power game as well, but yet you've got aspects of feel that are very difficult. So, but yet, and the players are great. They're so fantastic when they come into Valhalla, and how kind they are. I will say, I hate to name favorites, but boy, Rory, we had such a good time with him.
I love hearing
that. 2014. He's such a gentleman. Every time I saw him through the week, he said, "Gosh, just thank you so much for you and the members and all you're doing for us to make this a great week." So just the humility that someone like a Rory McIlroy has always amazed me.
What's the greatest round you've ever seen? Now, of course, it's probably one of the championships, I would assume. There's so much excitement involved when there's so much at stake for a PGA Championship. What is the greatest round you've seen? And when you're watching that, can you look over this and say, look, you're not only partly responsible, you're one of the major cogs in this machine. So how does that feel when something like this comes to fruition and you have a champion? And talk a little bit about that, the best round you've ever seen and how it felt.
Yeah, you get it. It's, when you're so proud of Valhalla. I mean, I'm so proud of the place, and I think the community is, the members. So that sense of pride is always there when you host a championship. I think absolutely the greatest round I've ever seen is Tiger Woods and Bob May in 2000. That final round, just toe to toe through the whole round, and then it goes extra holes. Just without a doubt, that was, and I think still within the golf realm, that probably ranks as still in the top 10 majors of all time. So that aspect there was that Tiger Bob May duel was something.
I remember that. It was electric. That made me, as someone who's a novice at the game, it made me really understand that passion that you and I talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Absolutely.
Okay, so all of these championships and the prestige, with that, to keep that level of excellence, is that something you have to face every day? Because not only does a national TV audience expect it, not only do the professional players, but the guys who come in every day to Valhalla to play with their friends, they expect it as well. So talk about that a little bit. I mean, you seem to be a pretty even-keeled kind of guy, but I would imagine you get pretty intense about that course.
Underneath, the things are moving. But yeah, that is an aspect. There is a lot of pressure for that, because most of the time when someone comes out and plays as a guest, they've only seen the golf course if they've attended the tournament or if they've seen it on TV. So you get that pressure of, man, this is going to be exactly like it was when Tiger Woods played it. And that's not quite the case, which is a good thing, because most golfers couldn't handle a golf course set up that way anyway. But there is some there. But it also provides an opportunity for us as a team to provide an experience for someone that this may be their bucket list deal. They've been to every tournament, they've seen every tournament, and now they've got the opportunity to play Valhalla, and they're so excited that they're so nervous they can't draw the club back on the first tee. But so that really energizes me when I see that, to see that passion, and that helps us drive forward to try to make it even a better experience.
So Keith, how do you feel that Valhalla measures up with, let's say, an Augusta or some of the other major courses or respected courses? Certainly, as far as respect on a national level, you have that. So for you, what separates you from some of the other PGA Championship courses, or as I mentioned, the Masters? What are your thoughts on?
Well, I think our longevity in the championship realm, this will be our, 7th major championship, including the Ryder Cup. So it's, from that aspect, there's not many facilities that can boast that, for sure. But I think every venue is a little unique. Augusta is fantastic. St. Andrews, they're fantastic. So there are a ton of great venues. You just want your place to be the best it can be that week that it's your turn. And that's what Valhalla has turned out to be. If you look at our list of champions, we've had Mark Brooks, we've had Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy. Our seniors were Hale Irwin and Tom Watson, and then you have the U.S. Ryder Cup team that wins under Captain Paul Azinger. So I think I would put our list of champions up against anyone.
Oh, no question about it. Yeah. You've already mentioned, and you can't help when you're talking golf to bring up the name. Everyone says of Tiger Woods. Yeah. He really revolutionized the game. You've already said, Keith, you said, these guys are real athletes. Tiger, don't get me wrong, it was there, but Tiger made that trend popular. You see someone who distances himself from a very talented field by a mile, in golf terms. And you say, what is he doing? And it was physical fitness. The guys smoking on the golf course, those days are over, aren't they?
They are, yeah, I think so. You'll occasionally have those rare talents like a
John Daly
that that maybe doesn't fit that model, but you have that's just a rare talent, someone who's just so gifted that but there again you almost have to wonder what could John Daly have been if he would have maybe been a little more in the realm of a Tiger Woods. But yeah, it's interesting watching these players today is how they approach the game. When they come out for a major championship, most of the marquee players, they may play 9 holes on a Tuesday, and then front 9 on Tuesday, back 9 on Wednesday. But that's all they'll play is 9 holes. Then they'll hit a few balls, but they'll do a lot of stretching. They'll do a lot of physio. They've got a full day, but not necessarily on the golf course actually striking the ball. So I think that's a big change in the sport.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because if you're not doing it, if you're not out there training and keeping your edge, so to speak, and doing everything physically that is demanded of the sport, someone else is, and someone's going to beat you. So now it's gotten to the best of the best, and then it gets to be, you know, the top 1% of the top 1%. It's amazing. Okay, so we talked about the way the course has evolved. We talked a little bit about players and how they've evolved. But there's another aspect of it I would think you're proud of as well, Keith, is something else that I think Tiger helped introduce to the game is inclusivity. You know, being inclusive of everyone. Everyone, as you mentioned, we opened up, you talked about, you know, being able to compete. Everyone can compete. And the game, now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the intent wasn't always there, but now it's really there. It's vibrant, especially at Valhalla, right?
Absolutely, yeah, it is. It's you know, that's always been, you know, I'm a PGA of America member and very proud of that, and that's always been a big focus of the PGA of America, to try to introduce the game to as many people as we can. And I think there's it's an interesting trend that we're seeing now, that more people are getting involved with the game and experiencing the game off of the course at a Topgolf or a golf simulator or something like that. Which is really interesting. There was a stat out that actually more people are experiencing the game that way now than actually on the golf course. So, and I think that's just an avenue for us to bring more people in. You know, to make it a broader spectrum of who's playing golf and how often they play.
We talked a little bit about the indigenous advantages of Valhalla with the limestone and the beautiful greenery and the water that is there that was available for Jack. And we talked about his signature on Valhalla. I'm curious about your signature, Keith Reese. You're the general manager. Is there something that you're very particular about, or maybe an aspect of the course that you're proud of that you brought to Valhalla?
Well, I mean, it's, you know,
You're humble.
It's never it's never been about me or anyone on the staff, but I do think that, you know, that sense of pride that we have, I think is what sets people apart. And you know, if I'm looking at hiring a new head professional, or really anyone on the property, someone that, you know, if it's just someone that's working in our bag room, no job is insignificant, and they have to buy in. They have to have that pride in Valhalla, just as the members do, and the new ownership group, and, you know, the PGA when they owned it, the pride that everybody had in it. So I think that's a big difference, and that's, you know, it comes more natural to me because I've got so many years there, and I truly love the place and the history, and so hopefully that's kind of that'll bleed over to other team members, and then really help our experience and make it a nice day.
You I would imagine, have a lot of CEOs and presidents of companies who come in and they want to get on Valhalla golf course. What is that? I'm just curious, that process, what's that like? Maybe a member calls and says, you know, I have someone, he's only in for a couple of days. Can we make this happen? What's that process like?
We try to, yeah. We're fortunate enough to the way our membership is arranged that we're not a high volume facility. So there's typically there's times that if a member says, hey, you know, I really need this, is very important. Can we get this done? We're going to find a way to get it done. And that's the beauty of Valhalla, and I think that's the way the members and you know, the ownership group, that's the way we want it. We want it accessible, and for the members to be able to use it. That's you know, it can be a business tool, but it's a fun and relaxing place for them as well at the same time.
So tell me about the relationship with television network, that national TV audience. They're looking for the beauty of golf, and I think they do an excellent job of capturing it. Certainly, it's there, it's available at Valhalla. Are there certain vantage points that they like their camera set? I always see the limestone rock, I see the water. So tell me about those, because I think when people play the course, they're probably saying, oh, I've seen that on television.
Yes, yeah. Probably one of our most photographed and videoed areas is our 13th hole. You know, I think all of our holes are great, but 13 kind of stands out as an island green. And we recently made some changes there where we kind of started digging around on this limestone shelf that's back there behind the green, and found this beautiful outcropping of limestone that it has made it spectacular. So we've got a waterfall that kind of spills down off of that, and the players to get to the championship tee will actually cross a footbridge, and then the stairs are carved into the limestone that they'll go up to the championship tees. So that'll be an area you'll see a lot on TV. But really, the last 6 holes in general at Valhalla are very good. they're beautiful holes. They're very difficult, and that's typically where the tournament is kind of won and lost.
All right, I want to hear about your game, but we haven't talked much about your personal game. Obviously, golf pro. So, tell me a little bit about you. When you play Valhalla, and I'm assuming you play often, you're probably invited by a lot of members. Hey, can you help us out for the day? If you get out there on the course, what do you look for? What makes you most proud in your course?
Well, it's my golf game is not what it used to be, but that's okay. I still enjoy the game. A lot of my time when I'm playing now is I'm looking, okay, is this done right? Is that done right?
Yeah, you're looking as the general manager rather than a player.
Yeah, it's hard to take that hat off, but sometimes I can and have a leisurely round of golf, and it is a great time for us as even our head professional and our assistant professionals to get out and play with members and just use them as a sounding board. How are things going? What's your perspective on Valhalla? How do you like it? What are we doing? What are we doing well? What can we do better? So it's even anytime we're at Valhalla, we're on the clock. We're moving. Our mind's going. But I still enjoy getting out. I enjoy playing. I really enjoy Valhalla. Pretty much any time I play now, that's where it is.
I would assume, Keith, when you get out on the road, maybe you're on vacation, your family, whatever the case may be, and someone corners you, and what do? And you say, I'm general manager at Valhalla Golf Course. I bet you people light up and corner you and want to talk either A, about can you get me on the course, or B, tell me about these PGA Championships. Tell me about the Senior Championships. Tell me about Ryder Cup. Do you enjoy those conversations?
I do. My wife and I used to have a joke when we would, they would ask her, well, what does your husband do? And he said, well, he works in golf. Oh, really? What's he do? Oh, he works at a club. Oh, really? What club? Well, he works at Valhalla. So that was kind of the last thing for her because she didn't want to go into all the...
He's out of this public course. It's just no big deal. Yeah.
But it is. Anytime I can talk about Valhalla, it's a wonderful time. And there are, it's nice to see the interest that people have in Valhalla that maybe haven't visited, but they've seen it on TV and they know the history. So yeah, it's nice. It makes you feel good as a member of the team there to know that people are that interested in your facility and the events that you've had.
Because the name of the podcast is Gaining Interest, so let's talk about, you have your fingers on the pulse. You know how the game is moving, how it's trending. Do you see golf, the game of golf, is it moving in the right direction? Are we growing an audience? Do you see young people taking up the game? What do you see the future of golf look like right now?
Golf has exploded. We were honestly when COVID hit, no one knew what was going to happen. But I think of some things that may have suffered, golf was not one of those. It's amazing what golf has done. Our play in general around the country picked up about 20%, and we really haven't lost much of that. I look at my family and my kids as an example. They played golf, did the junior golf stuff when they were little, but never really, took it as a hobby that they did all the time. My daughter was a field hockey player. My son went to baseball. But when COVID hit, my son he and his buddies, that's all they do now. They love golf. And I think that's a trend that we saw with that 18 to 25-year-old. I think we gained more people in that aspect than we ever have. So really, golf is in such a great spot right now.
That's good news. I think for me, being on the outside and my perspective looking in, it does appear that way to me, but it's good to hear from someone like you. I'm glad to hear that because it's a beautiful game. We've talked about like it's all friendly and nice and all that, but I have friends of mine though who get out on a course, and I've seen some clubs getting broken, and talk a little bit about that. I bet there are some people who get frustrated, and what is that demeanor? Is it the A-type personalities? Because I've also seen those type of guys who, like yourself, succeed in business, but can really let go on the golf course and turn that off. What do you see both sides of that too? You see guys who really get upset at their game?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. That was a no question.
And I've been there once upon a time. It's a difficult game, and that ball's just sitting there waiting for you to hit it. It's not moving, it's not jumping, it's not talking to you. You just have to hit it straight, and that's what the simplicity of the way it looks and the difficulty of what it actually is. sometimes conflict with one another.
But at least your surroundings are so serene and beautiful. It makes it easy to calm down, doesn't it, at Valhalla?
Absolutely. That my favorite time, some of my favorite golf is when I'll go out at 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening after a day in the office and just, I may play 2 or 3 holes, but just out there, just looking at the beauty and just enjoying
I can't imagine what that's like in the morning when it's quiet and
morning and evening.
Beautiful.
Yes. Very beautiful.
And I'm curious. I'm hesitant to date our podcast, Gaining Interest. Legato Financial Group, thank you so much. I'm hesitant to date it, but I'm curious. The preparation, because right now you're going through that. So what kind of things you mentioned the fact that the course is now longer. You mentioned softening the greens. What other kinds of preparation? What do you do to make sure this is ready for a national audience, a worldwide audience in the PGA Championships? What's being done now?
Yeah, a lot of it. I mean, the PGA of America has just an unbelievable team that manages this championship. They are so good at what they do. Kerry Haig is the Chief Championships Officer with the PGA. He's done all of the championships at Valhalla. He's arguably the best in the business at setting up the course and making that experience for the fans. So for us as a club, a lot of our responsibility is leading up to and then post of the tournament. But once the build out starts like it has now, it's fast and furious, and PGA's got a fantastic team that are on site. Our tournament director, Ryan Ogle, he's been on property for probably just over 2 years now. So it's a long time span, and but their team handles the build out. They handle the running of the tournament. Our staff is there to fill any holes that might be missed and to make sure our members have a good experience.
I can't imagine all that is involved and the people that are involved, the expertise that's involved, because we're looking at, people expect amenities, but they expect safety, security. You're talking about players of very high visibility, that kind of thing. It's a lot, isn't it?
It is a lot, and it's what people don't realize is that it's not a months-long planning experience. It's years that go into it, and some of the partners that the PGA have, there's not many companies that can come in and set up 700,000 square foot of temporary flooring, in a span of 2.5 months. So their partners do a wonderful job too, and that's one thing that people don't realize is these partners. It's hard sometimes they try to include the local businesses as much as they can, but just the scope of it sometimes, it's I think what amazes people. We may get a call from a local fence company and say, "Boy, we'd really like to help." Okay, we need 14 miles of fence to go in, and so
good luck.
So then they understand the scope of why a lot of times national vendors are used, and the PGA Championship team is the one that really makes it happen.
So Keith Reese, you are humble, but on behalf of the entire audience of Gaining Interest, powered by Legato Financial Group, thank you for what you do, because you put Louisville in such a positive light in the state of Kentucky, because Valhalla is a beautiful course, but there's a lot of work that we don't see that goes behind making that so visibly beautiful and a great course to play for a golfer and enjoy an experience. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
And my last question I'm going to ask you, so what is rewarding for you? Obviously, we've talked about the pressure, and we talked about you enjoy the course, but what do you find most rewarding about your job?
I think it's, for me, it's seeing our members and their guests just have an experience that, when they leave, it's like, wow, that was the best day. We had such a good time. I mean, at this point in my career, that's the most rewarding thing, because I don't really play competitions much anymore, but to have that, and that our team has had success and hit a home run for someone is really, that's what's fulfilling to me.
You're a home run guy, man. You're the Babe Ruth of golf here, so thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. And if you ever get a little section where it's got a clown's mouth or a windmill or something for me, then then can I become a member then?
We've got to get you playing golf. You could have the best golf years of your life ahead of you, John.
Oh, you don't want that. I would tear your course apart. But with that being said, thank you. Again, even as someone who is not an experienced or even fairly good golfer, I love Valhalla, and I'm so proud of it. When I get in conversations often with men my age, and they're all about golf, you point to Valhalla, and it's always rave reviews. So you've done an excellent job. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Once again, Keith Reese, General Manager of Valhalla Golf Course. As you know, so prestigious, so respected around the world. We're very proud of that. Again, it's Gaining Interest. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.